I was on hallway duty when the legend walked in. Not the kind of legend people clap for. The kind people laugh at first, because laughing is cheaper than admitting you are scared. Her file hit my desk with a soft thud. Name Kara Vale. Species human. Origin Earth. Classification Deathworld. Gravity tolerance. Off the chart. Pain response. Concerning. Temperament. Polite. The registrar had written. Like that solved anything. I am Rel. I'm a Savaxian records aide at the Orion Collegium, which is a fancy way of saying I babysit the galaxy's future leaders and try to keep them from suing the school after they get themselves eaten. The Orion Collegium likes to brag that it accepts all species. That slogan always sounds brave right up until a deathworlder actually shows up. The moment Kara stepped through the main arch, the atrium noise changed. It did not get louder. It got sharper. Whispers. Snorts. That brittle little laugh people make when they are trying to prove they are not impressed. Kara looked small, not fragile, not weak, just smaller than the armored Harkins and the tall, jointed Rune. She wore a plain uniform jacket with no medals, no clan marks, no glow thread, dark hair tied back, eyes forward, shoulders steady, and at her left heel, padding along like it owned the floor, was her pet. Yes, pet, a creature about knee-high to her, fur the color of dust, ears alert, tail slow, head moving in tiny constant measurements. It wore a simple harness. No muzzle, no containment bubble, no shock collar. A pet, in a school where we needed 3 permits to bring a houseplant. The creature's eyes hit me for half a second. I froze, not because it looked scary, because it looked awake, the kind of awake that says, I see you, I have decided you are harmless, and I will remember your scent anyway. Kara stopped at the central directory. She spoke to the orientation drone in a calm voice. Hi, I'm here for intake. Kara Vale. This is Kipp. Kipp. Of course. It had a cute name. That is how humans behave. They will name a nightmare something you could whisper to a baby. The drone chimed. Welcome, Student Vale. Animal companion detected. Please confirm. Emotional support classification, registered service unit or research specimen. Kara blinked once. Companion. The drone paused, as if it had to search its whole memory for the concept of because I want to. Companion is not a listed academic allowance. Kara smiled a little. Not sweet. Not smug. More like patient. Like she had heard this argument 1,000 times and found it boring. Then listed. The drone's lights flickered. Student Vale. Policy requires. Kipp sat down, right in the middle of the atrium. Just sat. Calm. Still. Like a stone that had decided it was comfortable being a stone. The foot traffic split around him without anyone asking. Even the loud ones lowered their voices. A Ruin sophomore almost stepped too close, and Kipp's head turned. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just enough. The Ruin sophomore changed direction immediately and pretended it was his idea. I watched Kara, and I watched the pet, and a very uncomfortable thought slid into my mind. The school did not understand what it had admitted, neither did the students. Yet, a bell tone rang for the morning assembly. Everyone moved, filing into the great lecture hall like they were being poured into a mold. I stayed near the back wall, pretending to check schedules on my slate. Really, I wanted to see what happened when Kara met the social food chain. It happened fast. A group of upper track cadets gathered near the entrance. They wore polished collars and rank pins, and they had that effortless cruelty of people who have never been told no by anything with teeth. Their leader was a Harkin named Varo. Broad shoulders, plated skin, eyes like wet metal. He was famous for sparring accidents. Varo stepped in front of Kara. Oh, the Deathworld student, he said, loud enough to carry. I expected someone taller. Laughter. Right on cue. Kara stopped. She did not flinch. She looked up at him and waited. Varo's smile widened. And you brought, what is that? A toy. Kipp's ears twitched. Kara's voice stayed even. His name is Kipp. Varo leaned down too close, inhaling like he could smell weakness. Kipp. Cute. Does it bite? Kara nodded once. Yes. More laughter. The kind that says, we can do whatever we want, and no one will stop us. Varo reached out. His hand was huge, clawed, slow, deliberately slow. Like he was giving everyone time to watch him be in control. I expected Kara to move, to pull the pet back, to apologize. That's what most students did when they got cornered by the upper track. Kara did none of that. She said very calmly, don't touch him. Varo paused, then chuckled. Or what? Kara's eyes did not widen. Her tone did not rise. She just answered, or he'll decide. You're a problem. Varo laughed again, but it had less air in it. A problem? From that fuzzy thing. He touched the harness. Kipp did not snap, did not jump, did not bark. He simply stood, and the air changed. I cannot explain it in a way that will make sense to species that never evolved predators in their neighborhoods. It was not noise, it was pressure, a ripple of attention, a narrowing of the world. Like the whole hall slid into a tighter frame, Kipp's body moved half a step forward. Varo's grin faltered, just a crack. Kara spoke softly. Kipp. Leave it. Kipp sat down again. Varo straightened, embarrassed at his own reaction. His pride snapped back into place like a shield. He leaned toward Kara, voice lower, meaner. Do you think you can give orders here? You are a freshman. You are a guest. Earth is a rumor. Your kind barely passed screening. Kara's smile returned faint and cold. We passed. Varo's eyes narrowed. You can't bring animals into the hall. Policy. Either you leave it outside or you leave with it. Kara looked past him, toward the doors. The hall's entry arches were wide, but the main exit corridor beyond had security gates, sensor arrays, crowd control shutters. Standard stuff. Kara nodded once, as if considering. Then she said, okay. Varo blinked. Okay. Kara turned slightly and pointed toward the corridor. Kipp. Outside. Kipp stood and padded toward the doors without hesitation, weaving through legs like water through rocks. Varo smiled. Good. See? Not so hard. Kara stepped forward as if she would follow. Then she stopped, and she said gently, to Varo and everyone listening, now tell him he can come back in. The laughter stuttered. Varo's expression tightened. What? Kara folded her hands behind her back. I can ask him to leave. He trusts me. But you're not his person. Varo scoffed. It's an animal. Kara nodded. Correct. Varo turned toward the corridor and called out loud and sharp. Kipp. Back here. Kipp did not move. Varo's jaw flexed. He barked again, harsher. Kipp, come. Nothing. Kara's eyes stayed on Varo. She spoke quietly so only the nearest would hear. He's obedient, she said. Not submissive. Varo's cheeks darkened under his plating. He took a step toward the corridor. I saw it then. The mistake. Varo was not walking toward a pet. He was walking toward a sentry that had decided the boundary was now real. Kipp had stopped just beyond the threshold, right where the corridor narrowed. He stood sideways, body blocking the path with effortless geometry. His head angled slightly, not aggressive, just a barricade with fur. Varo approached, shoulders squared, trying to look unbothered. Move. Kipp stared at him. Varo reached down, intent on grabbing the harness and dragging the creature aside. The hall went quiet enough that I could hear the overhead vents. Kara did not shout, did not run. She said, calm as a sleep announcement. Varo, don't. Varo's fingers brushed the harness. Kipp's lips pulled back. Teeth. Not big teeth. Not dramatic. Not showy. Clean, efficient teeth. Teeth that had met bone before. Varo jerked his hand back so fast he almost stumbled. A few cadets laughed nervously. The kind of laugh that begs everyone to join so it does not count as fear. Varo straightened, furious. This is ridiculous. Kara tilted her head. Then stop making it interesting. That got a real reaction. A hiss. A few shocked clicks. Kara was not begging. She was not flattering. She was talking to him like he was a loud child. Varo turned on her. You will regret this. Kara's voice softened, but it did not get kinder. You already do. The assembly bell chimed again. The faculty were entering. The head marshal, Dean Orion, glided onto the stage with his polished robes and his gentle smile that never reached his eyes. Dean Orion spoke into the hall speaker. Welcome, students. Today we begin the term with unity, discipline, and mutual respect. Mutual respect.
Yes.
Of course. My gaze flicked to the corridor. Kipp still stood there blocking the exit like he was assigned to it. Dean Orion continued. We also remind all attendees of campus policy. Personal fauna are prohibited in academic zone. A murmur swept the hall. Heads turned. Some looked at Kara with triumph. Some looked with curiosity. A few looked with something like relief, as if policy could protect them from reality. Dean Orion's eyes found Kara. His smile tightened. Student Vale, you will remove your animal immediately. Kara raised her hand slightly, polite. Dean Orion. Yes, Kara spoke, clearly. Kipp is already outside. Dean Orion blinked. Then comply fully. Retrieve it after assembly. Kara Kara nodded. I can't. Now the hall leaned in. You could feel it. 1,000 egos wanting to see the Deathworld student put in her place. Dean Oren's voice cooled. Explain. Kara kept her tone calm. I told him to wait outside. He is waiting. Dean Oren's eyes narrowed. Call him back. Kara paused. Just long enough to let the silence sharpen. Then she said no. A wave hit the room. Gasps. Angry clicks. That offended sound professors make when a student refuses to play their part. Dean Oren's face stayed composed, but the corners of his eyes hardened. Student Vale, you are not in your home institution. This is Orion Collegium. You will follow rules. Kara nodded once. I am following rules. Kipp is outside. Dean Oren's voice rose slightly. Then why can't you call him back? Kara met his gaze. Because if I call him back right now, he will come back through that corridor. And he will come back fast. Some laughter, thin and unsure. Dean Oren held up a hand. You are implying threat. That is unacceptable. Kara's mouth tightened. I'm implying physics. Dean Oren signaled to security. 2 campus wardens moved down the aisle. They were built like walls, their uniforms reinforced. Stun batons at their hips. They looked bored, which is always a bad sign. Bored security becomes sloppy security. Dean Oren spoke into his slate. Wardens. Remove the animal. The wardens angled toward the corridor. Kara's voice cut through, still calm, but now it carried. He will think you are trying to take me. Dean Oren snapped. He is an animal. Kara nodded again. Yes. With instincts. And loyalty. And he does not understand your titles. One of the wardens scoffed. He tapped his baton against his palm. A cheap intimidation gesture. They reached the corridor threshold. Kipp did not move. The first warden approached, slow, shoulders wide. Move aside. Kipp's head turned slightly. His ears stayed forward. The warden reached for the harness. Kara inhaled. It was the first sign of tension I had seen from her. Not fear. Calculation, she said, not loud but sharp enough. Stop. The warden's fingers touched fur. Kipp lunged, not forward, not upward, sideways. A snap of movement so quick my eyes lost it for a fraction. The warden yelped, more surprised than hurt. Kipp had clamped onto the baton, not the hand, teeth closing on the metal and twisting. The baton flew out of the warden's grip and skittered down the corridor. The hall erupted in noise. Kipp stood over the fallen baton, tail stiff now, body angled between the wardens and the hall like a living gate. The second warden lifted his own baton, charging it. The familiar crackle of stun energy lit the corridor. Kara's voice turned cold. Do not, Dean Oren barked. Warden, proceed. The second warden swung. Kipp moved again, fast, precise. He did not bite the warden's arm. He did not attack the face. He did not do anything wild. He stepped into the space, forced the warden to adjust, and in that half second a warden's swing hit the wall panel instead of the animal. The panel sparked. The corridor lights flickered. The security shutters tied to the corridor systems began to lower. Everyone watched as the exit corridor started sealing itself, and Kipp stayed right there, perfectly placed, blocking the narrowing gap. Dean Oren's face went tight. This was no longer a cute policy violation. This was an incident. He turned toward Kara with the sharpness of someone trying not to panic in front of students. Call it off. Kara did not flinch. She did not raise her voice. She spoke like she was explaining a basic equation. I can call him off, she said. But you need to stop trying to grab him. Stop trying to stun him. Stop treating him like an object. Dean Oren snapped. He just assaulted staff. Kara's eyes hardened. He disarmed staff. That line made the hall go quieter again. Because it landed somewhere ugly. Disarmed. Not attacked. Not mauled. Not harmed. Disarmed. Kara continued. Voice steady. If Kipp wanted to hurt someone, you would already be calling medical. The first warden, embarrassed, snarled. Put it down. Kara's gaze flicked to him. Try. The warden hesitated. Of course he did. Dean Oren's hands curled at his sides. You are threatening the institution. Kara shook her head once. No. You are escalating it. The shutters dropped lower, leaving only a narrow gap at the bottom like a throat closing. Students began shifting. Uneasy. The exit corridor was also an emergency route. If it sealed fully, protocol would lock the hall until systems cleared. That meant no one moved until the school decided they were safe. It meant control, and the students did not like feeling controlled. Varo, the Harkin cadet, stepped forward again, smelling opportunity. This is what humans do, he called. They bring beasts. They intimidate. They break rules and demand special treatment. A few voices joined him, eager to belong to the loud side. Kara turned her head toward Varo slowly. Her expression did not change much, but something in her eyes did. A kind of tired focus. She said, "You touched his harness." Varo stiffened. "So?" Kara nodded toward the corridor. "He decided you were unsafe." Varo scoffed. "But I saw it." His posture shifted. He did not want to go near that corridor again. Kara faced the dean. "Let me fix this." Dean Oren's voice was clipped. "You will place yourself under campus discipline immediately." Kara exhaled through her nose. "Fine. Later." Dean Oren snapped. "Now." Kara raised her hand slightly, palms visible. Not surrender. Not obedience. Just a universal sign of, "I'm not about to swing." "Okay," she said. "Watch." She took one step toward the corridor. Kipp's head turned to her instantly. The tension in his body eased by a small visible amount, like a drawn wire releasing a fraction. Kara spoke in a low voice. Not baby talk. Not command bark. Something in between. Something familiar. "Kipp. It's me. Good boy. Stay." Kipp's tail moved once. Kara crouched at the edge of the threshold, just inside the hall, keeping herself on the safe side of the shutters. She reached out slowly, not to grab, just to let Kipp choose contact. Kipp stepped closer. His nose touched her fingers. The whole hall held its breath. Kara whispered, "Back. Heel." Kipp moved back half a step, positioning himself so his body no longer pressed the corridor line. The shutters halted. The sensor must have read clearance. The corridor lights steadied. A collective exhale rippled through the hall, annoyed that fear had been necessary. Dean Oren's voice cut. "You see? It obeys." Kara rose, slow, eyes on the dean. "He cooperates." Dean Oren's jaw flexed. "Remove it." Kara nodded once, then looked down. "Kipp. With me." Kipp turned and padded into the hall, passing under the half-raised shutters with smooth ease. Like he had planned that path. The warden stepped back instinctively. Students shifted away. Varo did not speak. Kara walked him to the side wall. She sat him down beside her. Kipp settled, calm again, like none of it mattered. Dean Oren stared at Kara as if she had personally insulted his entire species. He stepped down from the stage and approached, robes swaying. His voice dropped to a dangerous softness. "Student Vale, you will surrender the animal to containment." Immediately, Kara's face stayed neutral. "No." Dean Oren's eyes widened slightly, offended all over again. "You refused twice?" Kara nodded. "Yes." "And why?" he asked. "Should I allow a prohibited predator inside my institution?" Kara looked around the hall. At the cadets. At the teachers. At the wardens. At the walls built for species that feared sharp edges and high falls. Then she looked back at Dean Oren, and she said, very quietly, "Because you invited me." A hush. Dean Oren's nostrils flared. "You are not indispensable." Kara's smile appeared again, small, almost apologetic. "I know," she said. "That's why I brought Kipp." That line landed like a dropped blade. Dean Oren's voice turned hard. "Your pet will be taken." Kara's tone stayed calm. "Try. But be honest. You're not worried about policy. You're worried about control." Dean Oren hissed. "You will not lecture me." Kara leaned slightly forward, eyes steady. "Then don't test him." Dean Oren's hand lifted, signaling the wardens again. Kipp did not move, but he looked at the dean, and the dean, just for a fraction, flinched. He hit it fast, pretended it was nothing. But I saw it. I saw the calculation. The sudden awareness that this was not a dumb animal, it was a lock, and Kara held the key. Dean Oren's voice tightened. "If you do not comply, you will be expelled." Kara nodded. "Okay." The hall murmured again. Some students smirked, satisfied. Some looked annoyed. The incident would end. The deathworlder would be removed. The world would return to tidy line. Kara reached down and scratched behind Kipp's ear. Kipp's tail moved once. Kara spoke softly, but the room was quiet enough to hear her anyway. "Kipp," she said, "if they try to take me, you block the exits." A chill moved through the hall. Dean Oren's face went pale under his colors. Varo's eyes widened. The wardens froze, suddenly understanding the shape of the threat. And Kipp, calmly, stood up. He turned his body toward the main doors of the lecture hall, and sat, right in the middle of the aisle, blocking the exit, not growling, not snarling, just sitting, like a law of nature. I swallowed, my throat dry, because I understood something the others still hadn't. Kara wasn't ordering an attack. She was setting a boundary, and on a Deathworld, boundaries are not suggestions. Dean Orion tried to speak. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out at first. Then, finally, he managed. "Student Vale, what do you think you are doing?" Kara looked at him, calm as ever. "Showing you," she said, "the difference between respect and fear." Kipp's ears flicked. Outside the hall, alarms began to pulse softly, the corridor sensors reacting to a blocked path. And from the back rows, someone laughed nervously. It wasn't the same laugh from earlier. This one sounded like a confession, because everyone in that hall had just realized the same thing. If Kara got cornered, no one was leaving. Not until her pet decided they could. The alarms did not scream. They pulsed, soft, rhythmic, polite panic. That is how Orion Collegium preferred its disasters. Quiet enough for reputations to survive. Dean Orion stood there stiff as a ceremonial statue while a knee-high Earth predator sat in the aisle like it had purchased the building. And every student in the great lecture hall suddenly remembered something important. Policy does not matter to teeth. I stayed pressed to the side wall, slate tucked against my ribs, trying to look like a harmless administrative shadow, which frankly is my natural state. Kara Vale stood beside her pet, hands relaxed, face calm. She looked like the only person in the room who could breathe. Dean Orion finally found his voice again. It came out thinner than he wanted. "Student Vale, remove your animal from the aisle. Now." Kara's head tilted slightly. Not defiant, not mocking, just curious. "Or what?" she asked. Oh, there it was, that little human habit of poking the bruise to see if it still hurts. A few cadets made offended clicks. A ruined professor shifted his frill with anxiety. The wardens kept their hands near their batons, but they did not touch them now, because they had just watched Kipp disarm one baton like it was a toy. Dean Orion's eyes darted toward the corridor controls, toward the security shutters, toward anything that might restore order without making him look like he was negotiating with a student in a furry barricade. "Kara," he said, trying the personal approach, like names are magic. "This is an academic institution. You cannot hold the hall hostage." Kara blinked once. "Hostage," she repeated. Interesting word. I didn't lock anything. I didn't shut doors. I didn't threaten to hurt anyone. Dean Orion snapped. "You told it to block the exits." Kara nodded. "Yes." A pause. A delicate silence. Kara continued, calm as a weather report. "If someone tries to take me." Dean Orion's jaw clenched. "No one is taking you. We are enforcing policy." Kara smiled slightly. "Policy with baton." Kipp's ears flicked at the word like he understood the tone if not the meaning. That did something to the room. A murmur. A nervous ripple. Not everyone. But enough. Because here is the truth about schools like Orion Collegium. They are built on the fantasy that everyone will behave. And when someone does not, the whole place starts looking flimsy. Dean Orion lifted his chin. "Wardens, remove the animal from the aisle." "Gently." "Gently, yes." "Brilliant," he said gently so the cameras would love him later. The wardens looked at each other. Their eyes said, "Absolutely not." One of them, the taller one, took a half step forward anyway, because he had a job, and pride, and a pulse. He stopped when Kipp turned his head. Not a growl, not a bark, just a look. The warden's feet stopped without his permission. I almost laughed. I did not. "I value my future." Kara's voice cut in, low and sharp. "Do not." Dean Orion glared at her. "You are interfering with campus security." Kara's gaze stayed steady. "I am preventing a hospital visit." The first warden tried to recover dignity. "Student, we can restrain it without harming it." Kara's expression did not change much, but her eyes hardened. "No," she said. "You can't." The warden's face flashed with annoyance. "It's an animal." Kara nodded. "Yes. And you keep saying that like it makes you safe." The hall went quiet again. Dean Orion inhaled, long and controlled. He made a show of patience. "Student Vale," he said. "This institution cannot function if individuals bring uncontrolled predators into shared spaces." Kara glanced around the hall slow. At the Harkin cadets built like armored vehicles. At the ruin with jointed claws. At the lecture hall itself, which was basically a stone bowl designed to keep everyone contained when emotions rose. Then she looked back at Dean Orion. "Uncontrolled," she repeated. "You mean, not controlled by you?" Dean Orion's nostrils flared. Varo, the Harkin cadet, stepped forward again because of course he did. "Bullies never leave a scene until someone bleeds or they get bored." "This is pathetic," Varo said loudly. "She's hiding behind a pet. Typical Deathworld trick." Kara's eyes slid to him. Varo smiled, thinking he had the upper hand. "What?" Going to sick it on me? Kara's voice stayed flat. Kipp. Stay. Kipp did not move. Kara stepped forward. One step, just one, and that one step did something strange. The air shifted. Students leaned back instinctively. The kind of instinct you get when a predator stops talking and starts moving. Kara stopped at the edge of the aisle facing Varo. She looked up at him. Varo? She said, and the way she said his name sounded like she had filed it under problem. Varo's grin twitched. Yes. Kara's tone became almost conversational. Do you know why you felt brave earlier? Varo scoffed. Because I am brave. A few Harkin laughed too loudly. Kara nodded slowly. Sure. Or maybe, because you believed everyone would stop Kipp. Varo's eyes narrowed. He's an animal. Kara's smile returned faint and sharp. And you are a student. Varo's claws flexed. What's your point? Kara leaned slightly forward. My point is, if you touch him again, there's no policy in the galaxy that will save your fingers. The hall reacted. Gasps. Hisses. Outrage. Dean Orion snapped. That is a threat. Kara straightened. No. It's a forecast. I nearly choked. Human humor is awful. Sometimes. Also, effective. Dean Orion lifted his slate and tapped rapidly, summoning more security, no doubt. The overhead lights brightened slightly and the hall's wall panels flickered with a soft alert glow. A calm voice came through the hall speakers. The central system. Attention. Safety protocol. Engaged. Please remain seated. Please remain calm. Yes. Please remain calm while a Deathworld predator blocks the exits. That will work. Kara looked up at the speakers and said hi. She said it like the system could feel awkwardness. The system continued. Staff responses in progress. Kara nodded once. Great. Kipp remained seated. Body in the aisle. Eyes forward. He was not staring at Varo. He was not staring at the wardens. He was staring at the doors. He did not look angry. He looked assigned. That was what scared everyone. A predator with emotion can be negotiated with. Appeased. Distracted. A predator with purpose is a different category. Dean Orion spoke again. Voice tight. Student Vale. You will comply. Or you will be expelled and escorted from the campus. Kara's eyebrows rose slightly. Escorted. By who? Dean Orion's jaw clenched. By trained wardens. Kara glanced at the wardens. Then she glanced at Kipp. Then she looked back at the dean. Okay, she said. Try. Her calmness hit the hall like a slap. Because she was not bluffing. She was not excited. She was not enjoying this. She was simply ready. The first warden stepped forward again, trying to project authority. Student, he said. We will escort you with minimal force. Kara nodded. I appreciate the effort. The warden frowned. Then call your animal away from the aisle. Kara's gaze stayed on him. No. The warden's voice rose, frustrated. Why? Kara answered without hesitation. Because you are not listening. You are trying to win. Dean Orion's eyes narrowed. This is not a debate. Kara's smile came back. You're right. It's training. That line made even some professors blink. Training. A few students whispered it. Confused, Dean Orion stepped closer, voice low so it would not echo. What are you training? He demanded. Kara's voice softened too. You. Dean Orion's face tightened. And then, because pride is a disease, he did the dumbest possible thing. He turned to Varo. Cadet Varo. Dean Orion said. You claim the animal is harmless. Demonstrate. Move it aside. Varo's eyes widened for half a second. Then his ego kicked in. Of course it did. He straightened, puffing up like he had been given a stage. Gladly, Varo said. Kara's head turned slowly toward the dean. Her voice remained calm. Do not. Dean Orion snapped. You don't give orders to faculty. Kara's eyes held his. Then don't give orders to fools. The hall reacted again. Shock. Outrage. A few suppressed laughs. Varo stepped toward the aisle, ignoring Kara completely. Kipp did not move. Varo crouched slightly, trying to look casual. Hey, little thing, he said, voice dripping with fake softness. Move. Kipp stared at him. Varo reached out, claws opened, aiming for the harness. Kara's voice cut in, sharper now. Varo, stop. Varo smirked. Or what? Your pet will cry? Kara's eyes narrowed. Kipp. Leave. Kipp did not move. Varo froze, confused. Kara repeated firm. Kipp. Leave. Still nothing. A murmur spread. Kara's expression stayed composed, but I saw something flicker in her eyes. A small tension. Not fear. Not doubt. Something like calculation. Varo laughed. Loud. See? You can't even control it. Kara's mouth tightened. You think control is the goal? Varo reached again. Kipp moved, fast. He did not bite Varo. He did not leap at his throat. He simply stepped forward and placed his body between Varo and Kara, shoulder angled. Head low, a silent, solid warning. Varo's breath hitched. He tried to cover it with laughter. Cute. He pushed Kipp's shoulder. That was the moment. I will describe it carefully, because later people told stories that were wrong. Kipp did not attack. He locked. His jaw snapped onto Varo's wrist guard. Not skin, not flesh, metal and polymer. His teeth clamped and did not release. Varo yelped, trying to jerk back, but Kipp's stance was braced. Weight low, traction perfect. Varo pulled again. Harder. Kipp's head twisted slightly. You could hear the grinding of material. Not breaking. Not yet. Just warning. Varo's face went pale under his plating. His pride evaporated. Get it off, Dean Orion shouted. Release. Kara's voice was calm, but sharper than before. Stop pulling. Varo did not. He kept yanking, panicking now, making everything worse, like all idiots do when they meet consequences. Kara's eyes flashed. Kipp, she snapped. Off. Now. Instantly, Kipp released and stepped back, sitting again like nothing had happened. Varo staggered back, clutching his wrist guard, staring at the marks. No blood, no missing limb, just dents in reinforced armor that had been designed to resist training blades. The hall erupted. Varo looked around, humiliated, furious, terrified. He pointed at Kara. She trained it to attack. Kara's voice cut through the noise. No. I trained it to stop. Dean Orion's face had shifted from anger to something else. Fear. Not wild fear. Administrative fear. The fear of losing control in front of witnesses. He raised his slate, voice trembling with forced authority. Wardens. Restrain student Vale. Immediately, Kara's gaze snapped to the wardens. Her tone dropped, slow and dangerous. Do not touch me. The first warden hesitated. The second warden moved anyway. He reached for Kara's arm. Kipp rose, not lunging, not snapping, rising, and every muscle in the hall tightened. Kara's voice became a command, crisp enough to cut glass. Kipp, block. Kipp turned, trotted toward the main doors and sat again, perfectly centered. The alarms pulsed faster. The system voice returned. Safety protocol escalation. Please remain seated. Someone in the back shouted, open the doors. Someone else yelled, call the marshal. Confusion, panic, anger, and Kara Vale stood there like she was the only person who knew the script. Dean Orion's voice cracked. You are endangering everyone. Kara's eyes stayed locked on him. No. You are, Dean Orion hissed. You are forcing the hall into lockdown. Kara shook her head once. Your sensors did that. Your system did that. Your fear did that. Dean Orion's hands trembled slightly. He hid it by clenching them. You will be expelled, he repeated, like the word had weight. Kara nodded once. Fine. Then she said something that made the room go even quieter. Expel me, she said, but do it correctly. Dean Orion blinked. What? Kara's tone stayed steady. Call your legal liaison. Call your interspecies relations officer. Call the Earth Embassy contact you pretend you don't need. Because if you touch me without protocol, I will file a complaint that will bury this school for a decade. The professors froze. Because that was real. Not teeth. Not fur. Paperwork. The true apex predator. Dean Orion's face tightened. You're bluffing. Kara smiled. Small. Try me. Varo snarled. She's manipulating you. Kara glanced at Varo like he was a stain. You touched my pet. You tried to humiliate me. You failed. Now you want someone else to fix your pride. Varo's eyes burned with rage. He stepped toward her. The wardens moved, suddenly interested, because violence between students was a situation they understood. Kara's voice turned flat. Varo. Back up. Varo laughed. Or what? Kara's eyes stayed on him. Or I let Kipp decide how far you can go. Varo stopped. He did not want to admit it, but he stopped. Dean Orion's voice rose, desperate now. Student Vale, call your animal away from the doors, and this can be handled quietly. Handled quietly. There it was again. Not safely. Not fairly. Quietly. Kara looked around the hall, at the students sweating, at the professors pale, at the wardens itching for an excuse to use force. Then she looked at Dean Orion. No, she said. Not quietly. Correctly. I realized then what Kara was doing. She was setting terms, not for dominance, for survival. If Orion Collegium wanted to host a Deathworlder, it had to accept Deathworld rules, respect boundaries. Do not grab, do not corner, do not escalate. Simple, impossible. Dean Orion tapped his slate again faster and a side door near the stage opened. A figure entered, moving with controlled speed. Head Marshal Juno Crail, the real authority. Not robes, not speeches, a veteran security commander scarred, with eyes that did not waste time pretending. Marshal Crail walked down the aisle toward Kara, scanning everything. Her gaze landed on Kipp blocking the doors. Her gaze landed on Varo's dented wrist guard. Her gaze landed on the wardens. Then she looked at Kara. Student Vale, Marshal Crail said, voice calm. I'm here to resolve this. Kara nodded. Good. Marshal Crail stopped a safe distance away. Call your animal away from the doors. Kara's expression did not change. No, a few students hissed. Some groaned. They wanted this over. Marshal Crail raised a hand, silencing the hall without trying. Interesting. Authority that did not need volume. Marshal Crail looked at Kara. Tell me what you want. Dean Orion sputtered. Marshal, she's holding the hall. Marshal Crail did not even glance at him. Dean, quiet. Dean Orion went silent instantly. I almost smiled. That was satisfying. Marshal Crail returned her focus to Kara. What do you want? Kara exhaled slowly. First, she said, I want staff to stop trying to take Kipp. Marshal Crail nodded once. Agreed, Kara continued. Second, I want Varo to stop approaching me. Varo snapped. What? Marshal Crail finally looked at Varo. Her eyes were icy. Cadet, she said, sit down. Varo hesitated. Marshal Crail did not blink. Now, Varo sat. Hard. Like gravity had suddenly doubled. Kara continued. Third, I want an exception filed for my companion. Official. Not a favor. Not a quiet deal. Dean Orion choked. Impossible. Marshal Crail glanced at him. Dean. Stop talking. Dean Orion shut his mouth. Kara added. And fourth. I want you to apologize. Publicly. For ordering people to grab me. Dean Orion's face turned a shade I did not know existed. Marshal Crail looked at Kara thoughtful. That's a lot. Kara nodded. So is putting a Deathworlder in a corner. Marshal Crail's gaze flicked to Kipp again. Kipp. She repeated softly, tasting the name. What is he? Kara answered. Simple. A dog. Some students made confused noises. Dog meant nothing to them. Marshal Crail's brow lifted slightly. A hunting animal. Kara nodded. Yeah. Marshal Crail's eyes sharpened. A pack animal. Kara nodded again. Yes. Marshal Crail paused, then said something that surprised me. So he's not guarding the door because he hates us, she said. Kara's voice stayed steady. He's guarding the door because he thinks you might take me. Marshal Crail nodded slowly. And if I convince him you won't, he'll move. Kara nodded once. Yes. Marshal Crail took a careful step closer, not toward Kara, but toward the aisle, angled so she did not look like she was closing in. Kara, she said, I'm not here to win, I'm here to end this safely. Kara watched her. Marshal Crail continued. Let's do it your way. No grabbing, no batons, no crowding. You and I walk out together. Calmly. You file your exception. We handle Varo. And the Dean. Apologize. Dean Orion made a strangled noise. Marshal Crail did not look at him. Yes, Dean. Apologize. Dean Orion's lips pressed together so hard they nearly vanished. Kara's eyes held the Marshal's. You'll actually enforce it? Kara asked. Marshal Crail's voice was steady. Yes. Kara's face softened. Just slightly for the first time. Okay, she said. She turned her head toward Kipp. Kipp, she said gently. Release. Kipp's ears perked. Kara added. Softer. It's safe. With me. Kipp stood. The hall held its breath like one organism. Kipp walked away from the doors, padding back to Kara's side. The alarm slowed. The system voice announced. Safety protocol de-escalation. The tension in the room did not vanish, but it cracked. Students exhaled. Some laughed shakily. Varo looked like he had swallowed broken glass. Marshal Crail nodded once satisfied. Good, she said. Dean Orion, trembling with humiliation, forced words out. I apologize, he said, voice stiff for the misunderstanding. Kara stared at him. Marshal Crail's eyes narrowed. Dean Orion swallowed. I apologize, he repeated, louder, for ordering staff to physically remove you. It was. Kara nodded once. Thank you, she said. Dean Orion's face tightened like he was chewing poison. Marshal Crail motioned toward the side exit near the stage. Let's go, Student Vale. Kara whistled softly. Kipp trotted beside her, calm again. As Kara passed my wall, her eyes flicked toward me for half a second. I froze. Then she smiled, faint, not threatening, not friendly, just human. And she said quietly, "You're the records guy, right?" My throat went dry. Yes, Kara nodded. You might want to update my file. I swallowed. With what? Kara's eyes glanced toward the hall behind her, where 1,000 people were still staring like they had witnessed a myth. Add, she said, that I'm not here to be tolerated. Then she walked out. Kipp followed. Marshal Crail followed. The doors closed behind them, and only then did the great lecture hall begin to breathe again. Varo stood, shaking with rage. He shouted toward the closed doors. This isn't over, a professor hissed. Sit down, Varo snapped. She threatened us. Someone else yelled, you started it. Noise. Arguments. I stayed still, watching and thinking one thing. This was not over. Not because Kara wanted revenge. Because Orion Collegium had just learned a new rule. If you corner a Deathworld student, you don't get to decide when the corner ends. Later, after the hall cleared, I found myself in the records office, hands trembling slightly as I pulled up Kara Vale's file. The system asked, in its stupid, calm voice, update requested. Please specify changes. I stared at the blank field. What do you write after watching a pet stop an entire institution with nothing but placement and patience? I typed anyway. Student demonstrates advanced boundary enforcement under stress. Companion animal exhibits trained restraint, high obedience to handler and strong protective response. Recommend formal accommodation protocols and staff training. Avoid physical contact without consent. I paused, then I added one more line. Do not treat politeness as weakness, because that had been the real mistake. The next morning, campus chatter was a wildfire. Everyone had their version. Some said Kara had trained a monster. Some said the school had tried to imprison her. Some said Varo had been bitten in half. None of it was true. The truth was simpler. A girl from a death world had walked into a soft world institution, and the institution had blinked first. By midday, a formal notice went out. Temporary companion allowance granted to Student Vale pending review. Temporary. Pending. More polite panic. Varo's disciplinary review was scheduled. He was furious. And Kara. Kara walked across campus like nothing had happened. Kipp at her heel, head high, eyes calm. Students moved aside, not because they respected her, not yet, because they remembered the aisle, and the exits, and the quiet pulse of alarms. I watched from the records window as Kara approached the training yards, where upper track cadets practiced formation drills. Varo was there, of course. Wristguard replaced, ego still bruised. He saw Kara. His posture tightened. He glanced at Kipp. He took a step back without meaning to. Kara stopped at the fence line, hands on the rail, watching the drills like she was judging a performance. But Varo couldn't stand it. He walked toward her, trying to look relaxed, trying to look brave. Kara, he called, loud enough for others to hear. Kara turned her head slowly. Varo sneered. So you got special treatment. Kara's eyebrows lifted. Accommodation. Varo spat the word like it was poison. You embarrassed the school. Kara's face stayed neutral. You embarrassed yourself. Varo stepped closer. You think you won? You think a pet makes you untouchable? Kara's gaze stayed on him. No. Varo blinked. Thrown off. No. Kara nodded. Kipp doesn't make me untouchable. She leaned slightly forward, voice calm, clear. My choices do. Varo's jaw clenched. Then make a choice now. Spar me. A few cadets murmured excitedly. Drama. They loved drama. Kara exhaled slowly. No, she said. Varo's eyes widened. Coward. Kara smiled faintly. No. Smart. Varo leaned in. Voice low. You're scared? Kara's eyes narrowed slightly. Then she said something so simple it made me laugh out loud in the empty office. I'm bored, she said. Varo flushed. Kara continued. I don't fight for your ego. I fight for my life. Today, I'm not fighting. Varo's claws flexed. Then your pet fights for you. Kara's gaze flicked down to Kipp. Kipp, she said softly. Stay. Kipp sat. Kara looked back at Varo. My pet doesn't fight for me, she said. He stops people from doing something stupid. Varo's eyes burned. Like what? Kara's voice dropped, calm and sharp. Like touching me. Varo froze, because he had been leaning in, too close. His hand, without thinking, had lifted slightly. He lowered it fast, like it had burned him. The nearby cadets noticed. A few snickered. Varo's face twisted with humiliation. He took a step back and snarled. "This isn't over." Kara nodded, as if agreeing with the weather forecast. "Yeah, right," she said. "It's not." Then she turned away from him, like he wasn't worth another second. Kipp rose and followed, and the training yard, full of proud species with sharp weapons and sharper mouths, went quiet as she walked past. Because here is what the campus finally understood. Kara Vale did not need to win fights. She only needed to make you think twice before starting one. And her pet was not a weapon. He was a boundary with fur. If you want a clean ending, you won't get it here. Not yet, because I saw the way Dean Orion watched Kara from a balcony later that day. Eyes cold with resentment. I saw the way Varo gathered his friends whispering, plotting. And I saw the way Kipp's head turned whenever shadows moved wrong. Always watching. Always ready. The Orion Collegium had admitted a Deathworld student. Now it had to decide what it really meant. And I, Rella Records aide, had a feeling my job was about to get very, very busy. Because the next time someone tried to corner Kara Vale, Kipp wouldn't just block an exit. He would block a future.